The first televised draft was in 1980.
Yeah.
Here we are 44 years later, and it is a spectacle. And the ratings on what tonight's draft will bring will be bigger than everything. You're obviously a massive piece of that, as is Roger Goodell. Now, let's talk about our coverage tonight. So we'll be covering it as if we're the 33rd NFL team.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And we have our own draft board. And when we look at this draft board, I think it's the first time probably that an entire team's draft board has made its way onto camera. This thing is massive. What are we looking at here, Bill? And why do you think that this is such a beautiful piece optically to kind of look at as a weapon through the first round of the draft?
Right. Well, Pat, we're going to pretend, you're the head coach, general manager, CEO. You're going to make the decisions, and we have Fields' board up here. And let's start over here on this side. This would be the team needs. So,
Vanna White right now here.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, look at that.
So the team in their order of selection, and then their top three needs. And so, some teams will take their top needs. Some teams might take a second or third need and come back and get that first need later on. But we'll fill those in as the teams pick. And then
that's important, though, because, if you like the same style or position of another team in front of you, okay, maybe we got to move. Or are you worried about them taking your shit potentially?
Yeah, it just reminds you of what the teams in front of you might be looking at.
Got it.
And also the teams behind you in case you decide to move back in the trade.
How are you getting the team needs? Is that your own scouting department looking at their roster and thinking of the team needs? Or
We're working off field.
Well,
Okay,
tonight.
field,
I'm talking tonight. Yes, tonight we are. Yeah.
Everybody field. And over on the right side now.
Again, these would be Fields' best available. Okay, so we're starting at the top, 1, 2, 50. And so as these names come off the board, there'll be certain guys that will stick out there above the rest, and those will be the best available players regardless of position.
Now, best available in need for a team. How often is that going to be used here in the first round? Because that's a big conversation that takes place every single year.
Well, it is. It's very important. And then I think when you look at the main board here, this is really the key, is it's not just the vertical stack of the receivers as Field has them here, but it's the receivers relative to – here's the, let's call it, seventh best receiver, relative to the top defensive tackle, or relative to the, fourth edge rusher. So,
edge.
Yeah, well, it should be defensive end. I would get that up there wrong. But
no, what is
that's
edge?
Field.
Edge is a
that's
good.
our Field.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Field.
Yeah, Field. Yeah.
Bill
loves the term edge. Loves it.
And one of the interesting things here is Field doesn't have any running backs in the first two rounds. So the top running backs down here, if you want a running back, then based on this board, you would be skipping over other players at other positions who are graded higher, but they don't run the ball. So that's where this comes into play, is the horizontal look at it, not just the vertical stack of who's the best corner, who's the best wide receiver. And let's understand that every board in the league, the other 32 teams, they're all different.
Yeah.
There are no two that are the same. So what is on our board, usually at the top it's pretty close, but as we get later into the draft, in the later rounds, there'll be a lot of spread down here.
Yeah, because, for instance, if your team needs a position, you might like more at that particular position than a team that maybe is stacked at that particular position.
Yes, you might. And then sometimes that ends up where you end up taking two players at the same position because based on the best available, they kind of pop up there.
So as the night goes, this is going to kind of show itself on who's where in the best available side.
Yeah. And a couple of things that are interesting on the board. First of all, the players in red are the underclassmen. And the players in the black are the guys who have filled out, so their eligibility. So, for example, the quarterback position, Daniels, 5 years from Arizona State, Bo Nix, transfer from Auburn, Penix, transfer from Indiana. Those guys have had full NFL careers. Williams, May are much younger. McCarthy's a little younger, but, he had the extra year at in prep school. So, again, it just gives you a visual, a little bit of an idea of, where the players what their history has been, very quickly, just a quick look. And you can see in the best available here, or how many in the top 25 are in red compared to in black. And so with each player, height, weight, speed, school, and then for some players there are special tags on them where they have an additional thing that, just as a quick visual you can look at. So special teams returner, for example, players like Leggett, Worthy, Cooper, or where is he? Dijon. All right, Cooper DeJean would be returners, guys who are just good, solid special team players that projected probably a four-phase player, guys like Latu, Verse, Brock Bowers would be another one. And then you have players who are have a medical question. And we're not doctors in here. We're not,
we haven't seen the scans either.
We're not going to evaluate that. But guys who have been questioned, in the media and by Field, Peyton Wilson would be one. Penix has had the couple of knee surgeries, so he's tagged here.
Latu, obviously.
Latu. Not saying those guys can or can't play. It's just when you come to draft them, it's just a reminder of what that guy's situation is.
Coach, this purple one, character. Okay,
Yeah,
there's only one guy on the board. It's Joe Blow out of Duquesne. He's 7'1", 320, and runs a 4.4, but his name's upside down. He's got 2 purple stars. What's going on
This guy sucks, Duquesne. This guy sucks.
No, he's a really good player, but he's got the character issues.
Got it.
Multiple arrests, a couple of felonies.
Felonies?
Yeah,
Joe Blow's in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise. But as the draft goes on, the reason why you have to have that is because as first-round talent goes on, second round goes on, third round goes on your board, Joe Blow, you have to start weighing risk-reward in this entire
At some point, you might want to say, we'll take a shot at this guy. That's right.
And that's a real deal happening all around the NFL. Now, about the board and the numbers, the man that we will be ridiculing if he gets it wrong, friend of the program.
Yeah.
Field Yates is here.
Hey, Field.
Field, you look like a 12-year-old, Field. You look good.
All right, Phil.
Great, different
awesome.
on this side, huh? This is your Super Bowl, huh?
Oh, it is.
The best weekend of the year.
I'm glad you could tell.
Hey, you too.
How great is this, by the way?
Okay, it's phenomenal.
It's
And
unbelievable.
as we started laying it out and kind of looking at it, it was like the picture starts becoming clearer for our board, let alone everybody else's board. How did you find the ratings? Are we watching film? Are we talking to them? How did we get to these top 50 here?
The process always starts with the film, right? But the stuff like the character and the medical and some of those things come a little bit later on in the process. Over the past 10 days or so, especially the medicals, as players are getting their final reports and teams are assessing their level of risk, acknowledging that not every team is going to see the medicals the exact same way. There might be a team that says, we got no problem with Leatu Latu. Others may say, hey, we can't use a first-round pick on a guy who 3 years ago was medically retired due to a neck injury. So that's part of the the last piece of the jigsaw puzzle. But for the past, basically 11 months, we've been watching the tape on these guys. And, those quarterbacks always really are the driving force behind the draft, but there are a lot of damn good football players in this board.
Hey, these guys love putting out mock drafts, 2 months ago,
Yeah.
3 months ago.
I know Bill likes those.
With the medical and everything else. And when do the teams start to really get a picture of, is this within the last week, 2 weeks? What do you think from
I'd say the last 2 weeks. All the scouts are out in March and early April doing pro workouts, getting follow-up information, bringing them in for physicals, doing the 30 visits. And then you need a little bit of time, that last 2 weeks to 10 days, to compile all that information from a dozen scouts, from the coaches. I mean, it's just a ton of volume to figure it all out and put it into place. So
because shit's starting to leak out a little bit, right? We're starting to hear a little bit over the last couple of days. There's always rumors and stuff. What are we hearing right now?
I think these last couple of days, this is where we get, the teams that are being deceptive, right? You start to hear about a guy, this guy might be sliding a little. I'm not sure the character's as clean as we thought it was a week and a half ago.
Flip
right,
the name
put the big
upside
star
down.
on him, right? You sure about that medical there? This is where the teams, a little lower in the order, are trying to get the great players to drop a little bit. So
Hopefully
a lot of that,
Kind of
the
happened to
number
Stroud
of
last
rumors.
year.